Hey everyone, if you're new here, my name's Lottie, and if you're a subscriber, welcome back to my channel. I really was debating doing this video, but I thought it would be fun. I want to acknowledge that a lot of things in life, especially reading and book taste, is super subjective, and not everything needs to be tier ranked. However, that's what we're going to be doing today. I hope you guys will enjoy this video. I just thought it'd be fun to kind of do an end of the year wrap up. I think it's just like a more engaging and fun way to talk about all the books you read this year rather than just like sitting here and holding up the book and going on and on about it. This kind of gives me like some parameters and an opportunity to make it a little more fun. Okay, so before we jump in, I want to go over my Goodreads year in books. In 2024, I read 100 books, which was really exciting. I think I read actually closer to like 85 novels, and then I had, let's see, probably at least like 10 novellas and 5 graphic novels. I was like, oh, this is gonna annoy me for the rest of 2025 to have to look on my Goodreads and see I was at like 98. So I had fun and read a bunch of novellas. I actually just posted my December reading wrap up if you want to hear about my end of the year sprint. All this to say, I did hit 100 even. In total, I read 36,350 pages. I think it averages out to about like 100 pages a day, which is actually kind of crazy, but I'm really proud of the work I put in with hitting my reading goals this year. I set my reading goal for 2025 to 100 again. Like that's achievable, and we're just gonna stick to an even 100. So enough of the stats, let's hop in to tier ranking these books. I want to quickly go over the tier ranking categories that I created because I'm really excited about them. Just for a fun little twist, I named each category after a Taylor Swift lyric. If you didn't know, Taylor Swift is my top artist pretty much every year on Spotify. The top tier comes from the song Question by Taylor Swift, and it says, everything's just like second best after that meteor strike. These are the books that were my 5-star, 6-star reads of the year. They just, nothing compared to them. They're in a league of their own. Everything is second best. The second tier that I have says, even if it's handcuffed, I'm leaving here with you. So these are my top reads of the year. Loved them. They stood out. I'd say these are going to be books that are like my favorites of the year, but not necessarily the favorites of all time, the way that the top tier is. Okay, the third tier is from The Last Great American Dynasty. So it says, I had a marvelous time. These are books that I enjoyed. You know, they were good. I liked them. I had a marvelous time. The next tier says, it isn't love, it isn't hate, it's just indifference. And this is from I Forgot You Existed. These are books I like forgot I read or just like don't care about. Like they were good in the moment, but I haven't thought about them once. I don't dislike them, but I don't remember enough to really be like, oh my gosh, I loved this book. The next tier is from Better Man, and it says, I Wish You Were a Better Man. These are books that I was rooting for. You know, I wanted to like them, but for one reason or another, they let me down in some way. And then the bottom tier says, long story short, I survived. Of course, from Long Story Short. So those are our tiers. I feel like even if you're not a Swiftie, hopefully this makes sense to you. It's pretty straightforward. And I'm extra on theme for this video. My t-shirt I'm wearing today is from the Common Room shop, and it says, I drive down different roads, but they all lead back to you, with a picture of the Magnolia Park series. So we have Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home, and Into the Dark on my shirt. I just love this shirt and had to wear it for this video because we've got my favorite book series of the year and the Taylor Swift reference. I just thought it was perfect. Okay, let's get this party started. So the first 2 books that I read in January of 2024 were A Court of Frost and Starlight and A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. So I was finishing up the ACOTAR series. I'm gonna put A Court of Frost and Starlight in I Had a Marvelous Time. It was fun. It was cute. I enjoyed it. I think reading it in January for me was like perfect. I also loved starting the year with a novella. I felt so accomplished so early in the year, you know? It was quick. It was cute. Did it bother me at times? Yes. Did Nesta annoy me? Yes. That was the point though. It needed to set up A Court of Silver Flames. I'm not gonna ride for it, but I had a good time. Then we have A Court of Silver Flames, and I think I'm gonna put it in everything's just like second best. I think about this book a lot. This book hit way harder than A Court of Mist and Fury for me. My 2 favorites from the series are Wings and Ruin and Silver Flames, and I think I just like have to give this one its props. I just felt like Nesta as a character, I really enjoyed being in her head. I found the new POV really refreshing within the series. It was great to be able to like be with our characters that we all still knew and loved, but from a new point of view. So, okay, next up we have The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I had seen this on TikTok everywhere, and I was trying to be better about using Kindle Unlimited and saw that it was on there. So I just downloaded it and read it on a plane, and I hated it. So I'm putting it in Long Story Short, I Survived. I wanted to DNF this book so many times. This tier is really like a should have DNF'd tier. I don't even remember the specifics of why I hate it so much because I think I just kind of like cleared it out of my mind. I'm pretty sure the main reason I hated this is I just felt like the characters were so immature. Like coming out of A Court of Silver Flames, where you have such incredible character arcs and development, and then going into Spanish Love Deception, I was like, what is this? So I just remember being so ready to be done with this book. So I survived. Next up, we have In 5 Years. I'm putting this in I Had a Marvelous Time. I like Rebecca Searle. I feel like I do not hear enough about my girl Rebecca Searle. I really like One Italian Summer. I liked In 5 Years. I don't really remember the specifics of the plot. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I binge read this one in like a weekend in February, but I remember sobbing and feeling like it was such a great story of like female friendship, and there's a bit of magical realism, and it was just like right book, right time. So I had a marvelous time. Then we've got None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, and I think I'm gonna be putting this one in Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You, because this was just the first thriller I had read in a really long time that I had no issues with. You know, like I never got bored. I didn't get confused. I feel like sometimes with thrillers, you lose me for a minute and then I find my way back. But that didn't happen here. I was just genuinely awestruck and jaw dropped throughout the entire novel. This was great. I loved this. Okay, next we have The Midnight Library. And you know, I really liked this at the time, but I feel like looking back, I would not reread it. I feel like there's better magical realism that kind of makes the point that this book is trying to make. I enjoyed it. I really, honestly, when I read it, I was like, I really like that book. Like, I would recommend this to people. I'm putting it in It's Just Indifference. I wouldn't say don't read it, but I also wouldn't necessarily be like, everyone should go read this. This book is basically about trying on lives, like all the different people you could have been if, you know, you'd made one different decision. So I think if you're someone going through something where you're trying to decide about making a certain decision, or you're trying to grapple with the fact that you made a decision that you feel like you can't change, this could be a good read for you. But like if you're not looking for an introspective, exploratory story like this, like I wouldn't necessarily prioritize it. Okay, then we have Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I was on a roll here in the next few. I think I'm gonna put it in Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. I kind of got the same feeling from this one as I did with None of This Is True. Like it's not a thriller. It's not supposed to be a thriller, but like it was thrilling. It was kind of creepy. It was just kind of like a train wreck you can't look away from. This book had me from the beginning. Like I binge read this in 2 or 3 days. It captured my attention wholeheartedly. I've not read anything really like this, and I really liked the kind of uniqueness of it, and I'm keen to read more from R.F. Kuang soon. So I really loved that one. Okay, next up, we all know where this is going. This is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt, right to the top. Remarkably Bright Creatures was an incredible read. I was sobbing at the end. I think a lot of people kind of find this one maybe a little bit boring in the middle, but for some reason I was just in my lit fic era at this time. I think it was just like March or April. I really enjoyed all of our characters, and especially Marcellus. He is such an icon. I love him. I have gushed about this book all year long, and I will not ramble on too much. It was so charming. I loved it. Okay, next up we have Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This was me trying to use Kindle Unlimited again. I was like, okay, wait, I have Kindle Unlimited. So I decided to start reading this, and I'm so glad I did. I thought it'd be fun to read these before Just for the Summer came out. So I did Part of Your World and Yours Truly, a little back-to-back run. They're so good. These are some of the best romance books I read this year. If you're looking for a good new romance author, Abby Jimenez is where it's at. Part of Your World, I'm putting in I Had a Marvelous Time. I love this one. I ate it up. But then Yours Truly, I think it's going into Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. Brie and Jacob, one of my favorite couples of the year for sure. The representation of anxiety in this book was excellent. I thought it was wonderfully done, and just the care and the love these two showed each other was so cute, and it was great reading it back to back with Part of Your World. I really enjoyed being in this world. Next we have The Bodyguard. I think I'm gonna put this in I Had a Marvelous Time. I enjoyed The Bodyguard by Catherine Center a lot. This is my first Catherine Center book. Again, a Kindle Unlimited read. I felt like the conflict was like par for the course, but also not annoying, and I thought our characters were funny. I thought they had chemistry. I also liked that The Bodyguard was our main female character, not our main male character. I thought that was a fun spin on the concept. So, okay, next we have First Lie Wins. Honestly, this is going to be kind of a hot take. I think I may put it in It Isn't Love, It Isn't Hate, It's Just Indifference. I was expecting for this to be like a new fave thriller, and don't get me wrong, I definitely like this book. I'm somewhere between I Had a Marvelous Time and It's Just Indifference. I think, you know, right after reading it, I would have been like, yeah, it was amazing. But looking back, like, I don't remember much about this book. I don't know, some of the loopholes that we kind of used here, and then the ending, like, it was just, I felt it was just a smidge overhyped. It was like a little boring in the middle for me personally, which a thriller should never be boring in my opinion. The 7 Year Slip, oh my gosh, love her. I think it's gonna go, and Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. I wish it was in the top tier. I feel like on a reread it might be. This was my first introduction to Ashley Poston, and I think this is my favorite book of all of hers. I loved it. Next we have The Wishing Game. I Had a Marvelous Time. I feel like a lot of books are gonna be going in this category, you guys. I feel like that's just like the default, but it was cute. It was short and sweet. It was really wholesome. The only thing I wish wish I read this in like the winter. I read it as it was getting warm out, and I feel like it's more of like a cozy fall and winter book. So then we have the most incredible run. So we have all 4 Magnolia Parks Daisy Hates books. We have Magnolia Parks, Daisy Hates, Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home, and Daisy Hates, The Great Undoing. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm gonna put Magnolia Parks in, even if it's handcuffed, I'm leaving here with you. But then, and then also maybe Daisy Hates. But then I'm gonna put the other 2 in Everything's Just like second best after that meteor strike. These first 2 are great, don't get me wrong, but the ones after the debuts are so much better. Like, it just pulls you back in and you don't realize how much you've been missing these characters until you start reading their book again. And I love the way that it kind of flip-flops POVs with Magnolia and Daisy. These books were just incredible. This is definitely my favorite series of the year, and I'm so glad I read them. So I pretty much read all 4 of those in April. Then, of course, our queen Emily Henry came out with Funny Story. I think I'm gonna put this one in Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. This was great. I loved this. I binge read this while I was laying on the beach, and it was just the perfect vibe. I think this is one of Emily Henry's books that I look back on the most fondly because of my reading experience. Like, I got to read this in 2 days and it was just so fun, and I was in such a mood to read. So that really affected it, but I'm trying to be true. I don't know that it's my favorite Emily Henry book. Next, we have The 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hildebrand. You know what? I think I'm going to put this here. This came available on my Libby while I was at the beach, and I was like, okay, perfect. The plot was intriguing, but the characters were pretty unlikable, and I feel like it just went on a little too long. Like, I got a little bored in the middle. Just for the Summer, her new release this year. I think I liked this more than Funny Story. Actually, I know I did, and I'm putting it at the top. Now I'm debating moving Yours Truly up, but honestly, I think Just for the Summer is my favorite of the 3. This book just like left a mark on me this year. It was definitely one of the best like contemporary romance. The concept was so fun, and Abby Jimenez just knocks it out of the park, especially with this series. So I can't wait for her new book this year as well. Then we read The Fury, and guys, new category unlocked because I Wish You Were a Better Man. I loved The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I liked The Maidens. The Fury was just like, I don't know. I listened to it on audiobook, and it was a lot. It was like all over the place. I just felt like very disoriented, and I was just like never that excited to pick it back up. So it's going in I Wish You Were a Better Man. I read Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I think I'm gonna put it in Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. This was one of my favorite books of the year. I feel like I've been hearing so much criticism about this book lately, and a lot of it is valid. I think upon hearing it, I'm like, yeah, maybe that's true. I don't know if I like loved it enough to do a reread in the immediate future. Hunger Games is one of my favorite books. It definitely draws on vibes from Hunger Games. I felt like the banter between Peyton and Kai was just so good. I ate this book up. It was like 500 pages. I read it in like 2 nights. Is it the most original concepts? No. Does it blend some popular titles? Yes. I still enjoyed it. I'm sorry, I did. Okay, then we have the Heartstopper graphic novels. I'm gonna put the first one in Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. Actually, you know what? I'm putting both of them in there. They're so good. I read the first 2. I love these books. They're so cute. Nick and Charlie Forever. These are my first graphic novels, so this was a top series of the year for me too. Next, we have Powerful. This is the Powerless novella. I'm putting it in I Had a Marvelous Time. Did I have a marvelous time? No, because I was sobbing, crying my ass out. Thank you, Lauren Roberts. Like, a mess. I feel like I don't read novellas so often, so it was fun to kind of just throw in the mix. Did I need this person's POV? No, but I enjoyed it. I had a marvelous time. Okay, Summer Romance. I think like right after I read it, I was like, yeah, it was cute. But like the further I got away from it, the more I realized that it's top tier. Like, it's so good. I have so many highlights on this book on Kindle that I publish on my Goodreads. Like, this is my favorite book of hers so far. I really like Nora Goes Off Script, and I didn't love Same Time Next Summer, but I really love Summer Romance. It was so good. So, okay, next we have Mad Honey. This is a challenging one because like I didn't have a marvelous time, but I would recommend it. Like, I think it's a good book. I think it's extremely well written, and it touches on really difficult topics. There's a bit of mystery, but it just wasn't what I was expecting in the moment. And I just was like not that excited about it when I was reading it. I think I'm going to put It Isn't Love, It Isn't Hate, It's Just Indifference. I want more books like this. There are also just like difficult things talked about in this book that were handled with really great care. And I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I didn't have a marvelous time reading it though, but it's so hard because I think it's objectively such a good book. I think I just wasn't in the mood for it at the time. So, okay, next we have Flawless by Elsie Silver. Honestly, I need like a category for guilty pleasures because this one is that. I'm gonna put it in I Had a Marvelous Time. This was my first ever book that I read by Elsie Silver, and I just flew through this on Kindle Unlimited. I had so much fun getting introduced to our characters of Chestnut Springs. Is this great literature? No. Is it entertaining? Absolutely. So I had fun with this one, and it got me excited about a new series. So I'm giving it some credit there. Next, we have Darling Girls, and you know what? I'm putting this in Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. I love loved this book. I really, really enjoyed it. It read kind of like literary fiction, mystery, strong themes of like female friendship, sisterhood, and I liked that. I don't think it's super thrilling. I don't think it's scary. It captivated me though. And I really liked, we switched POVs between the three main sisters we follow in this book. I loved mixing up the POVs, and it was just creepy enough to keep me like on the edge of my seat, but never like super scared. So I don't know, guys. This one just was right book, right time. Okay, this summer will be different. I read so many good books in the summer. Okay, this summer will be different. I think I'm gonna put it in I Had a Marvelous Time. This was a good book. This was just a good, solid summer romance book. I felt like this one gave us some good character development and growth outside of just the romance. I have no complaints about this book, and I enjoyed it. Okay, next we have Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli. This is going into Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. I loved this book. Another fantasy. I think I like downplayed how much I liked this book at the time because I didn't like it as much as Powerless. But the more I thought about it, the more I like missed this world in this book, and maybe even like it just as much as Powerless. It's set in the Regency era, which was really fun and different. And I just can't wait for the next one that's coming out, I think in February. I'm sat. I loved it. Next, a novel love story. I'm so sorry to this beautiful book, but I Wish You Were a Better Man. The premise, ingenious. The cover, outstanding. The execution, disappointing. Okay, next we have Heartless by Elsie Silver. Oh, I Wish You Were a Better Man. I'm so sorry, guys. This book was so hyped up, and I just kind of got the ick from it a little bit. I think the age gap in this one threw me off. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I love Willa. I really love Cade. I just didn't love like their story, I guess. I like them as people so much. I think they have so much great personality, but like reading their actual story just kind of cringed me out. So I'm sorry. It wasn't for me. Next, we have The Perfect Couple, and it isn't love, it isn't hate, it's just indifference. This book's kind of boring, honestly, guys, for like a mystery thriller. I was so excited to read it ahead of the TV show coming out, and it was fun to watch the show and everything, but I got bored. This was way too long. I don't know. I loved The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand. I read that in 2023, but both of her books I read this year just, I don't know, weren't my favorite. All right, then we have The Housemaid Is Watching. This is also going in It Isn't Love, It Isn't Hate. I don't really remember much about this book. It was a cheap thrill. It was fun. It was the vibe at the time. I felt obliged to read this because I did read The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret in 2023. So you know what? I was just like, fine, I'll read it. I want to know what everyone's talking about with this one. I had FOMO, and I don't regret reading it, but I also have nothing to say about it. Okay, Not in Love. This is like a sleeper. I think I'm going to put it in I Had a Marvelous Time. I enjoyed this book a lot. I feel like it got very mixed reviews this year, but I thought it was excellent. I didn't think it was like that much spicier than like the Chestnut Springs books, but everyone was calling it an erotica. Yes, they had a physical relationship, but I didn't feel like it was like, I don't know, way too much or anything. And I liked they were like straight up. I feel like I tried to predict like some of their conflicts and was always wrong, which I enjoyed. I like when a romance book isn't predictable, but also makes sense for the characters. And I feel like it delivered. Okay, next we have The Rom-Commers by Catherine Sinner. Guys, It Isn't Love, It Isn't Hate. It's just indifference. This was not one of my favorites of the summer. It's cute. I don't really have anything bad to say about it, but it also just like, I don't have that much good to say about it either. I did not feel a lick of chemistry from these two. I felt like it didn't really make sense that they would get together. And while it was fun, I feel like it borrowed from other concepts that I've like kind of read or watched in like a movie before. And I just didn't think it was all that original or like special. Okay, guys, Summer Fridays. You already know. This is going into Everything's Just Like Second Best. I loved this book. I had never read anything from Suzanne Rendell. This is an amazing summer romance book set in the 90s, and there is like a cheating conflict in this book. So if that's gonna annoy you, then pass, I guess. But it didn't annoy me, and I love this book. I would compare this to Emily Henry writing level. It was so good. Butcher and Blackbird. This is going in I Had a Marvelous Time. This entire row was just like good, solid 4-star reads. Butcher and Blackbird was new and different, and it intrigued me. And I had never read anything like this book. I felt like it knew it was kind of unserious. Like there were moments of satire that I kind of appreciated. And I like a book that can be a little self-aware. So it has my stamp of approval. Next, Reckless. I'm so sorry. I think I may put this in I Wish You Were a Better Man. The thing is, I had a marvelous time. Like both are true. But when we're talking about books that disappointed this year, I will say Reckless disappointed me. I still had such a great time, so don't get me wrong. I feel like maybe I should put it in this middle category because I don't hate it. There was just not a lot of plot. Was it super fun to be back in the world? Yes. Did I love hearing Peyton and Kai's banter once more? Absolutely. That's how I feel about Reckless. Moving on. Next up, Love and Gelato. I had a marvelous time. This one surprised me. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Definitely reads a little bit YA, but it was just like so comfy. I felt like I was a teenager again, reading a book in my childhood bedroom. Like our main character wasn't too like immature. Her decisions weren't annoying me, but she still had her moments. But I think it made sense for her character, and it was just a sweet story. So I liked it. Next we have Tom Lake. I was in a reading slump when I read this, guys. I don't know which tier to put it in. Let's see. I'd say I had a marvelous time. I listened to this book on audio, and Meryl Streep narrating it was so good. I think for a while though, I just was kind of like, so what's the point of this book? And by the end, I really came to appreciate and enjoy it, but I feel like I just didn't necessarily stand out to me in terms of literary fiction this year. It's very character driven. It's not super plot driven. And it's almost just like you're listening to a family member tell stories from their past, just chapter after chapter. And it was interesting, but I found myself caring a lot and then not caring at all. And I don't know, it didn't like hook me. So I wouldn't say it's like top tier, but it was a good book. Next we have Powerless by Elsie Silver. I had a marvelous time. I enjoyed this one a lot as well. I'd say it's like on par with Flawless for me. I do wish I read this one in the winter. I read it in like August, and it's set during like a snowstorm, so that kind of threw me off. I really like the couple in this one, and I love like a childhood friends to lovers moment. So The Last Thing He Told Me. It wasn't love, it wasn't hate. This book was fine. There's better thrillers. It's like kind of more of a mystery than a thriller. It had a ton of hype a few years back, so I had it on my TBR and I finally got around to it, and it was just okay. Next we have Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. This is obviously going in everything's just like second best. Definitely one of my favorite books of the year. I absolutely loved it. Beautiful story of womanhood and female friendship. Next we have The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth. I Wish You Were a Better Man. This one just dragged as a thriller, and I wasn't shocked by the ending. It wasn't like scary. I don't know. It was on Kindle Unlimited and it was fine. Like it was okay. I think especially after reading Darling Girls, I was expecting another banger and was just kind of let down. Okay, The Paradise Problem, immediately all the way up here. I really liked this book. Our main character, Anna, was so funny. She just had the best sense of humor. And it's so hard sometimes to get that right in a romance book, to really make it a rom-com and not be cringy, but I was genuinely like laughing out loud reading this book. Plus we get dual POV, which I love. Dual POV makes it. So, okay, next we have Better Than the Movies. This is going in, it isn't love, it isn't hate, it's just indifference. I'm so sorry guys. I know a lot of people love this book. I just was like getting bored. I was like over this. I felt like it was kind of predictable. And while I enjoyed it, I feel like I've seen this movie before. Like I've seen this story play out. It just didn't feel very original to me. And I think that's why it just didn't stick out. Okay, The Ministry of Time. I had a marvelous time. This one was fun, but it was like a lot. It was a whirlwind of different genres, and I feel like I was having to look up a vocab word literally every other page, which was kind of annoying. Felt like it was a bit pretentious with the writing, but it also had like such gorgeous writing at the same time. Like there were moments where I was just in awe of the different metaphors that the author was making, but such a unique concept, such a well done debut. The ending definitely lost me there for a minute, and I think I found my way back, but the ending was just, I don't know, kind of meh to me. It was like a lot. Next, we have The Love of My Afterlife. This was actually so good. Even if it's handcuffed, I'm leaving here with you. I recommend the audiobook for this one. I did some tandem reading and listening, and the audio was so good. I just thought this was a cute little unique story, has some good like found family vibes, and it also was like funny, I felt at times. So I enjoyed that one. Okay, then we have James by Percival Everett, and I'm so sorry, you guys. Once again, I should be putting it in I Had a Marvelous Time, but I think I'm going to put it in It Isn't Love, It Isn't Hate, It's Just Indifference. This is objectively a good book. This is an important book. It deserves all the awards it's winning, but I don't know. James is basically a retelling of Huck Finn, but from the enslaved Jim's point of view, and I thought it was really well done and creative. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn was never one of my favorite classics. I think if that's your favorite classic, you should read this. And I did like the audiobook, but it just like, it didn't stick out to me, I guess. Then we have The Good Part by Sophie Cousins. This is going to the top. This is another one I listened to on audiobook. So good. The audiobook on this one, loved. This book is for anyone who's ever wanted to skip to the good part of their life. You have to read it. It's magical realism. So good. Okay, Assistant to the Villain. You know what? It's just indifference. I fear. I don't know, guys. I was so bored reading this. I did not connect with our characters. It was so funny at first. I loved the first like 20%, and then I stopped kind of caring, I think. I felt so distant from our characters the way it's written. The writing just wasn't for me. Next up, we have Reckless by Elsie Silver, and this is going in Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. My favorite Chestnut Springs book by far. Were there still cringy moments? Yes. It's not like God tier, but it was a very good romance book, and I loved it. The Dead Romantics. I had a marvelous time. I liked this book a lot. Did I love it as much as 7 Year Slip? No. Did I like it more than a novel love story? Yes. Ashley Poston's writing is some of my favorite. The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. This is my first Sarah Adams book. It's just Indifference, I fear. I'm sorry if you love this book. It's cute. It just was like so simple to me. I feel like I've seen this film before and I already knew the ending. It's just like a predictable vibe. And then it just got like really cheesy at the end. I thought it was like somewhat funny and like enjoyable throughout. And then the ending just kind of ruined it. I don't know. The Unmaking of June Farrow. I feel like the more I think about this book, the more it goes up here. Everything's second best. It was so good. So unique. Such a creative, interesting, layered story that just had me hooked. Like, this had amazing character development, kept me guessing. It was so like immersive. I felt like I was there. It was really good. Then we have Fourth Wing. I think this is going into Even If It's Handcuffed. I'm Leaving Here With You. I really enjoyed this book. Is it my new favorite book of all time? No. I feel like the reason I think about it still today is because I see memes about it, not because it like really stuck with me, you know? Okay, You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I had a marvelous time, guys. This one does not deserve the hate it gets. I thought it was good. I thought it was funny. Our two characters are very unlikable, but they were entertaining, and I felt like they matched each other's crazy, you know? Margot's Got Money Troubles. This one, straight to the top. Okay, we're getting to the point where I'm gonna have to like go halfway and then drag it up. Margot's Got Money Troubles was so good. Please listen to the audiobook. It was narrated by Elle Fanning and I just loved it. This book was so different and it like had something to say and it was entertaining and the character development was there and we had interesting side characters. It just had everything I wanted. Okay, then we have Iron Flame. It's Indifference. Guys, I was disappointed, but I can't put it all the way down here because I did still have a good time. It's just like nothing happened in this book and then the ending was confusing, and that's my review. So moving on. The God of the Woods, Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. This book was great. Felt like it did a good job making the points it was trying to make and was well written. I enjoyed it. I read this in a 24-hour reading challenge. It took me a really long time to get through it, but I don't ever remember feeling like utterly bored, which is impressive because it's like a 500-page book. So The Ex-Hex, I had a marvelous time. This was so cute. You need a cute little Halloween rom-com. This felt like reading an adult version of Halloween Town and I loved it. So then we have Bride, Long Story Short, I Survived. I did not like this book. I feel like I'm in the minority here. I know a lot of people really liked this book. I just feel like there was not a lot of world building. It was very insta love. I really wish it had been dual POV. I think I would have liked it more if we had both points of view. This just was not for me. So, and that's okay. Then we have The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. I had a marvelous time. Is it anything crazy special? No, but I was entertained. And I was hooked. I was like, I've got to figure out what's going on here. This is creepy. I'm going to keep reading until I figure it out. So I liked it. Middle of the Night. I feel like initially I would have rated this at a marvelous time, but honestly, I'm kind of indifferent. It was fine. It just was like not that memorable to me, and that's okay. All right, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, Long Story Short, I Survived. This was just one of my least favorite books of the year. It does not deserve the hype that it gets, respectfully. It's cute if you want a little Hallmark moment. It's seasonal. You know, it's supposed to be like Gilmore Girls, but I just feel like, I don't know, it was very unoriginal. I was just bored. There was no plot. Moving on. Leather and Lark, I Wish You Were a Better Man. I was disappointed with this follow-up, guys. I think Butcher and Blackbird was so good, and then Leather and Lark just kind of felt like more the same. This one was just meh to me. I think part of it is that I just didn't like our main characters in this one quite as much as I did in the first one. They just weren't as likable to me, and so I didn't enjoy reading about them. Next, we have Apprentice to the Villain. This is the follow-up from Assistant to the Villain. Honestly, I kind of like this one more than the first one, but again, I think it's just indifference. I wouldn't necessarily say I had a marvelous time. I feel like I just was reading it to read it, and I don't have that much to say. Like, they're fun, but to me, kind of forgettable. I'm sorry. Out on a Limb. Oof, this is definitely going up high. We've got to do the 2-part drag now. Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. That's what you're getting. Out on a Limb was great. This was a 5-star romance for me this year. I was really surprised that I loved it as much as I did. Okay, Caraval. Let's see. I think it's just indifference. Caraval was just, I was expecting, honestly, I kind of want to put it in I Wish You Were a Better Man. Maybe I will. I just was expecting more from you, Caraval, and I was kind of let down. I felt like it was really fun at first, and then I think the pacing of this book just felt kind of weird to me, and I just didn't really connect with our characters. So next we've got The Husbands by Holly Gramazio. I think it's just indifference. Again, I like this. This was a fun concept. It was cool, but about halfway through, I was tired of it. I really enjoyed the first half, and then I really just didn't care. I've had enough of this. Divine Rivals, straight to the top. Loved this book. This duology was so good. This was the first like really good book that I read after the election we're not talking about, but this was just the perfect escapism that I needed, and it got me like back into reading post-election. So okay, The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, I Wish You Were a Better Man. I am not going to put it in I Survived because this is the best one of the three. I feel like I got tricked. This book is literally set in the middle of summer and I read it in November because I thought it was going to be a fall read and it wasn't. So next up we have Ruthless Vows. I like this one just a little bit less than Divine Rivals. I think I'm going to put it in Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. This duology and I are for lifers. I liked it more than Fourth Wing, dare I say. Okay, then we have our last three books in the Heartstopper series. My favorite of the five, if you can't tell, was volume 4, but all these books were so good. Just such a cute, heartwarming, well done graphic novel series. Hopeless by Elsie Silver. Long story short, I survived. I did not like this book. Such a disappointing ending to the Chestnut Spring series for me. I felt like the premise was so outlandish. I hated the age gap. It wasn't doing it for me. On the other hand, Magnolia Park's Into the Dark is, of course, going straight to the top. This book was the ultimate conclusion to Magnolia and BJ's love story, and I couldn't have asked for anything better. It delivered in every aspect. The Storied Life of AJ Fickery. I loved this book. It's going up into Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. It was so good. It was so cute. It was so heartwarming. An amazing little literary fiction book. We listened on audio, and I loved it. Okay, these are all just books I read in December, so I've recently talked about these, so we'll try to go a little bit quicker. Listen for the Lie, I'm Leaving Here With You. This was a solid thriller. I enjoyed it. It hooked me. It was well done. The audiobook rocks. Belladonna. I kind of wish you were a better man, but I think it's just indifference. I was just so bored when I read this. I don't know why. The premise is so unique and it's such a cool idea, but the execution, I just did not connect with our characters. How My Neighbor Stole Christmas. Guys, I'm sorry. I had a marvelous time. It was fun. It was silly. It was not that serious. And I just let myself enjoy the holiday vibes. On the other hand, The Christmas Tree Farm. Long story short, I survived. I should have DNF'd this. It was so bad. You know the vibes. Cruel Winter with You, indifference. It was cute, but like, I don't know. And then Only Santa's in the Building. I Wish You Were a Better Man. This one wasn't as good as Cruel Winter, and it was honestly, I was like, okay. Then I stopped reading those and read a really great book, The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year. I would put it in I Had a Marvelous Time. Or maybe Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. No, I had a marvelous time. This book was excellent. It had a little bit of everything. I recommend. The Book Club Hotel. Unfortunately, I feel like I have to put this in. It's just indifference. It was just okay to me. I think if I had not read it during a 24-hour readathon, I would have had a marvelous time, but there were just some things about it that I took issue with because I was cranky and it was 5 a.m, you know? Small things like these, I had a marvelous time. This is a great Christmas book. All three of these are extremely different vibes for Christmas books, but nevertheless, they all delivered exactly what I expected and did a great job doing it. Then we have Never Lie by Frida McFadden. I had a marvelous time. I'll put it there. I thought it was good. Was I like, oh my gosh, best thing ever? No, but I enjoyed it. Nick and Charlie, the Heartstopper novella. I think I'm gonna put it, I had a marvelous time. I really love the graphic novel format of these books. I think it just like makes it and brings it to life for me. And it was kind of weird reading the novella like handwritten. It was interesting to be back with them in a different way. I enjoyed it, but I like the like actual graphic novels more than the novella. Okay, then this should be quick. So Merry Ever After, All by My Elf, and Merry Mitten Mayhem were all books I should probably not have read, but I was just doing it to hit my 100 books reading goal. I quickly learned that I'm not a huge fan of romance novellas because I just don't think the novella format gives the couple enough time to kind of develop their relationship before it turns more physical. And I think for me, what I really enjoy reading about in romance books is kind of that development and the human connection piece and just like the flirting and the banter and stuff. You just don't get that as much in these because they just like immediately are in love with each other. So didn't love these, should have DNF'd, but it was part of my like mission to get to 100. Then we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and I would say it's just indifference. This one disappointed me, but it wasn't a bad book by any means. It's translated from Japanese, so I'm not going to be too harsh on it. I just felt like it was a bit predictable and repetitive, but it was a cute idea and a sweet storyline. Okay, The House in the Cerulean Sea. I'm putting you in I Had a Marvelous Time. No. Even If It's Handcuffed, I'm Leaving Here With You. No, I had a marvelous time. I think for me, I really liked this one. It just didn't rise to that like 5-star feeling. And it was so cute. It was so sweet. It was really well done. I did really enjoy this one. I love a magical realism, fantastical moment, and it was cute. Holiday Romance. I had a marvelous time. Once again, another just like solid holiday romance book. Probably my favorite. I like this one, I think, a bit more than How My Neighbor Stole Christmas. I do think How My Neighbor Stole Christmas got me more in the Christmas spirit though. But our characters in holiday romance were just so good. I really liked them. And then finally we have The Christmas Book Hunt by Jenny Colgan. This is a little Christmas short story on Kindle Unlimited. I'd say it's just indifference. Like, it was good, it was cute, but I would say it was probably pretty forgettable. So that is my final tier ranking. Let's go through the very top tier. So these are my top 14 books of the year. I'm gonna go through and order them. Okay, I think this is my final order, but
keep in mind, these are all like 6-star reads for me, and it's really hard to rank them. We've got Magnolia Parks Into the Dark, Firefly Lane, Summer Fridays, Remarkably Bright Creatures, A Court of Silver Flames, Daisy Hates the Great Undoing, Magnolia Parks The Long Way Home, Divine Rivals, Summer Romance, Margot's Got Many Troubles, Just for the Summer, Heartstopper Volume 4, The Unmaking of June Farrow, and The Good Part. If you need a book rec and you haven't read any of those that are in my top tier, definitely add them to your TBR. But that is my final ranking of all of the books that I read this year, guys. This was so much fun. I hope you had fun coming along on this journey with me. Before you go, let me know your favorite book of the year in the comments down below. I'd love to know. I think that's going to be it for today's video. Be sure to subscribe down below if you're new here so you don't miss a video from me, and I will see you super soon in my next one. Bye, everyone.